This is it, guys. You got what you wanted. We're about to see Jake Paul get knocked the pardon my excitement and enthusiasm. So as you're seeing by the title and floating around the internet, Jake Paul and Anthony Joshua are trying to finalise a fight for this December. Jake Paul and Anthony Joshua? Like, what? But this might be possibly the only opportunity we get to see Jake Paul get flattened. So let's talk about it. So Jake was actually set to fight Gervonta Davis, but the fight was cancelled supposedly because Davis was doing something to his ex-girlfriend. But the fight was cancelled because Davis got a lawsuit filed against him. I don't know the details, but it says here, aggravated battery, false imprisonment, and other offences. So that's not good, and I wasn't really that arsed about watching that fight because Tank Davis, brilliant boxer. However, once again, it plays into Jake Paul's whole schlabeel that he's got going on, where he's fighting people who are smaller than him, 10 weight classes below him. Now, I still would have took Gervonta Davis to win that fight, but still, Jake is always trying to give himself as many advantages as possible. And look, fair play. The guy's getting his money, he's getting his bag, whatever. But this fight right here, completely different narrative. Jake Paul going after Anthony Joshua. Joshua, man, he's a monster. He will batter Jake Paul. I'm saying it right now. And this is coming from the guy who, in the last few Jake Paul fights, has picked Jake Paul to win, despite the fact that people have said, oh, Mike Perry's going to beat Jake Paul, Shaun. You don't know anything about fighting. And then there you go. Jake Paul batters Mike Perry. Jake Paul is a decent boxer, but making this step up to fight Anthony Joshua is pretty crazy. I think it's a task too big for Jake. We don't really have many details about this fight, apart from the fact that it's targeted for December in Miami, Florida, and that's pretty much it. But we are now on November the 13th, so if this fight is going to go ahead, then it needs to get finalised right now. Dylan Dennis commented, did he send AJ the script? Pretty funny. This guy said, they are literally fake fights, who cares? They're not fake fights. Listen, Joshua is a seasoned veteran pretty much now, and he's looking to make his last title run of his career. Do you think he would jeopardize it by going for a fake fight? Definitely not. These actual real lifetime boxers, a lot of them have got integrity and honor within the fighting world, within the boxing industry. Okay, sometimes they'll do questionable stuff outside of the ring, but often you can have absolute scumbags within the combat sports world, but then they are proper professionals when it comes to fighting. But anyway, Jake Paul has got some major balls taking this fight. Before we really dive into our thoughts on this fight and what could potentially happen, Eddie Hearn did an interview a few days ago, planting some seeds, dropping some breadcrumbs for us to follow. So the first part of this interview, Eddie is talking about the Jake Paul and Tank Davis fight falling through, and then the conversation moves on to Anthony Joshua, where he's currently at in his career, and Jake Paul, where he's at in his career, and how all this aligns up. Let's watch it.
The search is on for opponents. I know there's contract stipulations with AJ, he's exclusive to DAZN, but have they reached out? Did they reach out this week? Like, is that a possibility?
Yeah, I've spoken to Nikisa a few times on it. I mean, there's nothing to report to you that it's close, or, there's a lot of hoops to jump through. Of course, AJ is exclusive to DAZN. We also work very closely with His Excellency, and although we have no contract with him, we're in talks for big fights next year. Of course, Tyson Fury being one of them. So we'd definitely give him the respect of making sure that he was aware of the plan and, part of that plan as well. But at the moment, there's nothing major to report on that. Would we take the fight? Absolutely.
So that's one thing to consider. Anthony Joshua is exclusive to DAZN, yet this fight is going to be taking place on Netflix, supposedly. So I'm interested to know what sort of deal they've made there. Is DAZN leasing out Anthony Joshua? Sounds a little bit weird, but I wonder if Netflix have to pay DAZN for a one-time fight deal for Joshua to, fight Jake Paul. And if you remember the Jake Paul and Mike Tyson fight a while back, there were so many people who weren't even able to watch the fight. Netflix couldn't really handle the amount of people who were tuning in for it. I think it was the first live sporting event that happened on Netflix, if I'm not wrong. And Netflix couldn't handle it. So if this does take place, Netflix are going to have to sort it out, because this fight might actually be just as big, maybe even bigger than the Mike Tyson fight. It's hard to say, really. Tyson was a big name, but it's going to do numbers regardless, because Joshua is a big name, and then people are going to be tuning in to see Jake Paul get knocked out. Right now, Eddie Hearn talks about Jake Paul taking this Joshua fight.
I mean, my estimations of Jake Paul would go through the roof if he signed to fight Anthony Joshua, because I just can't believe in my mind that he would do something like that. I mean, Gervonta was a smart one because of his size. Like, you know, I think actually he would have had a lot of success against Jake Paul, but the size is a problem. But this would just be, you know, like if Jake Paul was to take the fight with AJ, you'd really have to maybe carry his balls in a wheelbarrow on the ring walk, you know, because AJ wouldn't mess around in there, you know. So it would be huge, but nothing, you know, to tell you it's close. Just a few conversations so far.
Damn right, if Jake Paul takes this fight, he's got some major balls on him. And I know people hate influencer boxing, but come on, he's not fighting an old, retired, past the prime MMA fighter. No, he's fighting a legit boxer who's massive, 6'5", 6'6", jacked, 240, 250 pounds, shredded, power puncher. Do we need to remind ourselves of what Joshua did to Francis Ngannou? Francis Ngannou was coming off a pretty good performance over Tyson Fury. He didn't get the win in that fight, but you could argue that he did actually win that fight. And Ngannou, throughout his entire MMA career, in 4-ounce gloves, very, very rarely got hit. He could take a punch. He's got a big, fat African head. Big, thick neck, traps back. He just can't really be hit. And look what Joshua did to Ngannou. Out cold. So what do you think Joshua is going to do to Jake Paul? Jake Paul better start loading up on that Trenbolone. He needs to start eating Anavar like Skittles. Anavar is a steroid, by the way. Now, Eddie Hearn plants some seeds here that this fight might actually go ahead. He's talking about Anthony Joshua getting back into fighting, having a little bit of a warm-up fight. But listen how he words it and frames it. And I want you to listen with the context of this Jake Paul fight potentially being on the horizon.
Speaking of AJ, so what's the latest on his return? I see you guys announced the fight in Ghana. He's always wanted to have a fight in Africa. He has Africa tattooed on his shoulder, I believe. I would think that's the perfect card to put him on, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, you know, a fight in Africa originally was planned for February time. You know, this fight this year, we just talk about it like that sort of 8-round run-out fight where it's quite unusual, and we've never looked at doing it before because AJ's always the guy that fills the stadiums, and he still is. But with that comes a huge amount of pressure. Also, the need to fight quite a tough fight. And when you've been out for like a year and a half, coming off a knockout defeat, we just talked about the benefit to him of actually just getting back in a groove, you know, wrapping your hands, just turning up on the night, you know, just beating someone and then going into a bigger fight and then going into Tyson Fury. So, you know, everything is still an option at the moment. And, you know, there's a lot of people think he might fight on December 20th in Ghana. There's a few other cards he might fight on as well. Or he might just wait till February of next year.
So Eddie's talking about Joshua having a warm-up fight, getting back into it, dusting the rust off, getting the gloves on, getting the hands wrapped, blah, 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 doing the walkout, all the promotion, so on and so forth. And it's probably not a good idea to have that first fight back coming off a knockout loss to Daniel Dubois, which was a bad KO for Joshua. It's not a good idea to have your first fight back being against one of the top dogs. So doing a little Jake Paul-y fight, getting a nice bit of money, it's probably going to be an easier fight for him than someone in the top 10 of the heavyweight division. Although we shouldn't underestimate Jake because, look, it's a fight. Anything can happen. And then after the Jake Paul fight, he fights someone else and then he goes into the Tyson Fury fight. That's what he did last time going into the Daniel Dubois fight. As far as I remember, he was on a 3-fight win streak, so he went into that riding a little bit of momentum. I could be getting me facts wrong. I'm not a boxing expert, guys. But you get me point. Momentum is a powerful advantage when going into a fight. Joshua has recently lost his momentum. Jake Paul has still somewhat got his momentum. He's got millions of dollars. He's training hard. He's got a really good team around him. He's been boxing for the better part of, like 5, 6, 7 years? I can't even remember when his first boxing fight was. Oh yeah, Jake Paul's first boxing fight was in 2020. So we'll be going on 6 years. If any of you guys watching this channel have got millions of dollars, you're still fairly young, and you employ some really good trainers around you and do it solidly for 5 years, you're going to be pretty decent. However, it is a little bit of an easier fight for Joshua. So in my opinion, someone who actually likes the influencer stuff, I'm not that mad at this matchup. One, I don't mind Joshua. He's okay. Sometimes, you know, he's a bit questionable, some of the things he's said in the past, but as a fighter, I like him. Two, Jake Paul. It's a pretty big fight. He's a big name now, and it'll be a decent payday for Joshua. It will allow him to get a little bit of momentum to then leverage himself into a Tyson Fury fight next year, but he would need to get another win after the Jake Paul fight, maybe even 2 wins, let's see, because the narrative from Tyson Fury's side is going to be, who have you beaten? You lost to Daniel Dubois, and then you beat Jake Paul. Ooh, whoop-de-doo. Who's asked? Fight someone else before you start calling me out. There's too much politics in boxing. But then thirdly, a lot of people hate Jake Paul. This is the opportunity right here to see him get KO'd. If you hate Jake, seeing Jake go up against professional boxers who have got a similar experience level to him, it's not that exciting. No one's really that arsed. There's not that many eyeballs on it. So who would you rather see Jake Paul get beaten by? Someone who isn't really that known, who's on his level, or someone like Joshua who would probably flop Jake Paul everywhere? My use of wording is definitely getting a bit sus recently. So if this fight goes ahead, it makes for a very interesting fourth quarter of this year within the boxing scene. We've got the rematch of Chris Eubank and Conor Benn happening this Saturday, which is probably going to be a banger of a fight. It's taking place on DAZN. And for those that don't know, I am now partnered with DAZN. So if you're going to watch that pay-per-view and you support this channel, then use my link down below, because if you use my link, it gives me more opportunities for this channel to cover more professional fighting content, maybe get some interviews with the fighters, go to the events, get back on the live streams, stuff like that. We've also got the Andrew Tate and Chase Damore Misfits fight happening on December the 20th, and then we'd have this fight as well. So it definitely makes for an interesting end of the year. So you guys let me know all your thoughts about this fight. I'm also uploading my first exclusive video to Patreon tomorrow, and it's going to be centered around content that is not allowed on YouTube. So it's more violent, graphic, not safe for work type content. So get that link is down below as well. Based on this video, YouTube thinks you'll like this one. Nice one for tuning in. Leave a comment down below with all your thoughts. See you on the next one.